Duct sizing is super complex, but by the end of this video, you're going to be able to size thousands of ducts in under 1 second. Hi everyone, my name's Jonathan and I'm a mechanical engineer, and today I'm going to be taking you through how to size a duct. So for those that want a quick answer, feel free to jump to the end of the video where I'll look through ductulator options that will give you a quick answer. But for those that want to understand the key concepts and want to understand all the fundamentals, I'll first be going through the flow rate, the velocity and the pressure drop. So let's get into it. So the first topic we're going to cover for duct sizing is flow rates. Now to calculate your flow rate, there are 3 separate calculations you need to undertake. They spell out HVAC. So that's heating, ventilation and cooling. We had to undertake these 3 separately and then we'll size the duct for the largest flow rate. So these are the formulas for working out the heating and the cooling. Luckily, it's the exact same formula. I've written the top one here in metric and the bottom one in imperial. The key difference between the two, when you're using the same units for both, is this first section here. The load on the heating side comes from your heat loss, and on the cooling side, this comes from your heat gain calculation. So that is the first part of the formula, is what is your load? And then we're going to divide that by the specific heat capacity of the air. In the imperial formula, there is a multiplication by 60 to go from minutes to hour. That's not in the metric one. And then we have the air density here. And the final part is the multiplication by delta T. And the delta T is the difference between the supply air temperature, whether it's hot or cold, and the room temperature. And this is an example calculation for both of them. So let's start going through the heating metric one, and then we'll go through the cooling imperial one. So I've replaced some of these variables. In this example, we got 5,000 watts, and the delta T is 20 degrees C. So for example, we're providing 40 degree air, and the room temperature is 20 degrees. So if we simplify that, we have 5,000 divided by 24.12. That equals 207 litres per second, or 0.207 cubic meters per second. Now again, it's the same formula for cooling, we're just doing it imperial. This time, the load is 17,060 BTUs per hour, and we're also using 20 Fahrenheit for the delta T. So for the cold air maybe coming at 55 and the room temperature 75. We simplify that, we have 17,060 divided by 21.6, and that gives us 790 CFM. The final part of flow rates is calculating the ventilation, which is the V. There's typically 2 ways to do it. The first one, which is more common in SIBSE, which is where based on the room type, they will give you a number of air changes required per hour for that room. And then you'll multiply that by the volume of the room in meters cubed. The second way, which is more common in ASHRAE, which is where you look at 2 separate things. You look at the density of people in the room, and you get given a CFM per person, and you also look at the CFM per feet squared, which is the area of the room. I've added a couple of calculation examples to ventilation now. So let's first look at the SIBSE type one, where we have 1 air change per hour for this bedroom, and the bedroom is 20 cubic meters. That gives us an answer of 20 cubic meters per hour, which converts to 5.55 liters per second. Then looking at the ASHRAE method for an equivalent room, we've got the CFM per person and the CFM per foot squared. So if it's 5 CFM times 2 people, that's 10 CFM. And if it's 0.06 CFM per square foot and we have 100 square feet, that gives us an answer of 16 CFM. So now that we have done all 3 flow rate calculations, we need to pick the largest and size our duct based on that one. If we look at all the answers, we can see that the cooling, which is 790 CFM and converts to 373 litres per second, is the largest number. So that is the one we'll be sizing the duct to handle. Once you've calculated your flow rate, you're now ready to calculate velocity. To calculate velocity accurately, you need to look at a range of duct sizes. Generally, you want to size the smallest duct possible, but you don't want to go too small because there'll be a high velocity, that will become noisy and it will become inefficient as well. And you don't want to go to the other extreme and oversize because it'll get expensive and it takes up a lot of space too, and you usually don't have that luxury. So it's important to calculate it accurately, and then you'll get an accurate duct size. The formula for calculating velocity is one of the simple ones. At the top, we have the metric version. So here, to calculate the velocity in meters per second, we divide the airflow rate, meters cubed per second, by the meters squared of the duct area. Then for the imperial, calculating feet per minute, it is the airflow in CFM divided by the area of the duct in square feet. So it is very important to know your maximum velocity. There isn't one single number that you must design your duct velocity to. It does depend on two key factors. The first one is the duct location. So if the duct is above a library where being quiet is important, you're going to want a low velocity. This is because it will be quieter. Oppositely, if it's in a busy warehouse where it's very loud, noise isn't so important, so you can typically design to a high velocity. The second factor is whether the duct is a main, a branch, or a run out. Diversity occurs on mains because it's designed for this peak load, and reality means it might not always run at that. So typically they can have a high velocity. Whereas on branches and run outs, diversity becomes less, so it is more likely to run at full load, meaning you should design to a lower velocity. Here's a couple of tables from ASHRAE and SIBSI, and you can see there's quite a lot of numbers here. So it's important to find, first of all, that duct location, and then whether it is a main, branch, or run out, and there is a guideline number that you should aim to meet. Now let's look at a couple of calculation examples. The first one we'll do in metric based on the SIBSI recommendations. So if this was a supermarket and it was a main, they'd recommend a maximum of 9 meters per second, which is pretty high. Here we have 0.15 meters cubed per second, and we're proposing a duct that is 0.4 meters by 0.3 meters, which is 0.12 meters squared. That gives us a result of 1.25 meters per second, which it's below 9, which is great. However, it's a lot below 9, too far below. So because you don't want to oversize your duct, you should keep reducing the size of the duct until it gets close to 9. You don't want to exceed it, but you should stay just below it. Next, let's look at an ASHRAE example in imperial. So if this duct is located within an occupied space, it is rectangular and it's a run out, we shouldn't exceed 470 feet per minute. Here we've got 8,000 CFM, the duct is 2 feet by 1 feet, which is 2 square feet, and that gives us 4,000 feet per minute, which is way above 470. So in this example, you'd want to keep increasing this duct size until this number went just below 470 feet per minute. That is everything for the velocity calculation, and while you can now technically size your duct, you will be missing a key piece, which is pressure drop. So we'll be doing that next, and that will help us calculate the energy usage through the system. Once you know your flow rate and your velocity, you can now calculate your pressure drop. This is important because it does affect the efficiency of the system, which goes to the sizing of the fan. To calculate pressure drop, we use the Darcy-Weisbach formula, which is the most accurate calculation for pressure drop through ducts. So to calculate the pressure drop, these are all the key factors that come into play. The first one is the friction factor, which has a whole set of calculations that sit behind it, which we're not going to go into today because it's so complex, and we will just use a constant. Then we have the length of the duct, we have the velocity squared of the airflow going through the duct. So we multiply those together and then we divide it by 2 times gravitational acceleration multiplied by the diameter or the equivalent diameter of the duct. For the calculation example here, we have the metric above and imperial below. So if we first go through the metric, the friction factor is a constant, which is the 0.025. The length is 1 meter, and the velocity is 12 meters per second, and we're going to square that. We'll then divide all that by 2 multiplied by 9.81, which is the gravitational acceleration, and then we'll multiply that by 0.15 meters, which is a 150 mil duct. That gives us an answer of 14.4 pascals pressure drop across that meter. Now remember, SIBSI generally recommend 1 Pascal per meter, or the industry does. So that is much higher than it should be. And we will need to increase the duct size to bring that down. If we look at the Imperial version now, once again, we got the same constant, 0.025. We're going to multiply that by the length, which is 100 feet. And the velocity is 8 feet per second. And we're going to square that. Dividing that then by 2 multiplied by the gravitational acceleration, multiplied by a 1 foot duct. That equals 2.48 feet of air column, which is great, but we do need to get this in inches of water gauge per 100 feet. So to get there, we'll multiply that by 0.0144, which gives us the answer of 0.036 inches of water gauge per 100 feet. And that is everything you need to know about pressure drop calculations through ducts. Now we've covered the fundamentals, let's get on to the exciting part, which is sizing the duct. We're going to size the duct 2 ways. First, we're going to do it the traditional way, which is impractical and it's slow, but it is very important to help you understand. And then we're going to do it the practical way, which is much faster using modern design software. Okay, so now it's time to size the duct. And to do that, it's going through all the variables, which is knowing the flow rate, which was our calculation from heating, ventilation, and cooling, taking the largest of those 3 flow rates. Then, when we look at that flow rate through a range of different duct sizes, we get velocities. So that is looking at the flow rate divided by the duct area, giving us our results. And then we have the pressure drop calculation, which is a very complex calculation. Also looking at duct size and velocity and a few other things as well. The key to sizing a duct accurately is you want to have sized the duct too small, meaning really high velocity, really high pressure drop like we have here. And you want to have sized one way too big, really low velocity, really low pressure drop. The reason being is until you've done that, you can't find the perfectly accurately sized one, which will be in the middle. So for example, for this one, yes, there is a decent amount of velocity and there is a decent amount of pressure drop, but it's well within the limits. So that is a good size. If you went with the small one, really high velocities, pressure drops, meaning noisy and inefficient. Going with the big one, yeah, very low answers, but it's going to be really expensive and take up a lot of space. So that is why you need to do your calculations, find your sweet spot, and that is the duct sized. So that is all the theory, and it is complex, but it's very important. In reality, we need more practical solutions, and you do have some options available. The traditional handheld ductulator is a very good option. It's the old school one, where as you rotate the ductulator and move the flow rate around, it will give you the corresponding velocity and pressure drop instantly. This has recently been digitized, so the same concept applies in chart form, where you can look up and see the flow rate and you can see the duct size and the corresponding velocity. It's even been taken a step further where there's online ductulators, where you just input flow rates and sizes and it will give you the corresponding velocities and pressure drops. And finally, there's modern design software like H2X, which has been designed specifically not just to solve the calculation of duct sizes, but to be a design platform that suits your workflow. So the way that works is you upload the architectural drawings and you draw on top of them. As your drawing is measuring the ducts automatically, and as you're connecting diffusers and other parts of your system, it's going to be calculating the flow rates. Then, based on your settings of maximum velocity, maximum pressure drop, and the preferred material, it's going to do all of your sizing calculations with the correct velocity and pressure drops. And because it is a design platform, and because you've drawn the layout and you've got all the sizes, it then goes a step further with a range of other results and exports. This will include downloading branded PDF drawings, getting a full bill of materials, getting a very detailed Excel report of all the calculations undertaken, and finally there are integrations into AutoCAD and Revit, so you can automatically turn your drawing into a 2D or 3D layout. Thanks for watching, I hope you found that helpful. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions on duct sizing, and if you'd like to receive regular content like this, please like, subscribe and hit the bell. And if you'd like to learn more about H2X, please click the link below where there is a link to a free one-on-one demo and you can start a trial. Thank you and see you next time.